Now, not that we don't have our own problems here at home, but you can't help but look over the pond and see what's happening with Brexit and ask yourself, what the heck is going on over there? The Smithsonian Channel's new documentary, it's called Europe in Chaos, and explores the origins of Brexit, the migration crisis, and how it's really resulted in a fractured Europe. Series producer Norma Percy joins us, along with director Tim Sturzaker. It's great having both of you. Welcome in.
Hi.
For those of us here in America that have heard of Brexit, might not fully grasp it, what the heck is Brexit?
Britain exiting the European Union. It's something that we thought was a kind of joke when we first heard the phrase. But then in June 2016, we woke up one morning and found out that our country had voted to leave the European Union.
Yeah.
And it's become not such a joke.
Yeah, no kidding.
But,
fairly messy.
So we sat down and decided, I mean, nobody could really quite work out how we got there. And this series is a kind of exploration of how we got there. It's a prequel to the mess we got in.
Which is
and
probably
it really is a crisis.
I mean, I think when we set out to make this, we thought, what we're trying to do is show what it's like in the room when big decisions are taken, what it's like when leaders actually sit down and take these big decisions. And in terms of Brexit, that came down to one really enormous decision, which was Prime Minister David Cameron deciding to hold a referendum on whether to leave the EU. Now, he was warned about it by President Hollande in France, by the President of the European Union, Donald Tusk, by President Obama even. Yep. And so we thought, well, we'll try and talk to as many of these people as possible and show what it's really like when they sit down and have these conversations.
It really is an incredible thing.
The idea is,
go ahead.
The idea is to not give a lecture about what Brexit is, but to show what happened, to show that these prime ministers are real people, human people, wrestling with really difficult decisions. I mean, there's one moment that we really like where the European Council is negotiating the deal Cameron wants to hold the referendum, the reforms he wants for Britain. And they're at loggerheads and they adjourn. And David Cameron's in the British delegation rooms and he's lying on the floor because he's got a bad back. Yeah. And suddenly they say, Chancellor Merkel's on her way over. So everybody jumps up and starts clearing up the papers. And she sits down on the desk and they have a real heart-to-heart talk. And she says, well, why is it so important? Why do you have to have this concession on migration? And he says, what's the word he uses?
He says, well, I'll face a barrage of criticism.
Barrage.
If I can't get this.
Yeah.
And Chancellor Merkel looks around her staff and says, what's barrage? And David Cameron says, it's like blitzkrieg, blitzkrieg, and his staff suddenly go, "Don't mention the war, don't mention the war." But it's it's.
But they get it. I mean, she thinks of David Cameron as a sort of naughty nephew, and so she smiles, and they actually do then come to an agreement. And that's settled. She goes off into Brussels to get some French fries. That's Angela Merkel, the fearsome Chancellor of Germany, and David Cameron, the Prime Minister of Britain. And that's what it's like at crucial moments. Well, we hope that viewers find this more like a political thriller than
no doubt. Well, this is really, it puts a human
political
face.
Thriller that you learn something from.
This puts a human face to these major decisions that are being made.
Crises. And the second, I mean, the second hour is about the migration crisis, and similarly, it's not just a political story about how to deal with hundreds of thousands of refugees arriving in Europe. This is something that really sort of speaks to the heart of a lot of these leaders. It starts off with a moment that the Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi ship capsizes in the Mediterranean, over 800 migrants are feared dead. And he says that actually, the thing is, he's a father. He's got an 11-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And when he heard that there were 11-year-olds on this boat, that was a moment that for him meant that he couldn't not do anything. You know?
Locked in a room, so they couldn't get out, and they just drowned with the boat.
Yeah.
And he called an immediate meeting of the European Council to deal with it.
There are real human
but
stories behind this. We have run out of time, unfortunately, but we're looking forward to seeing this on Thursday night. We thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Europe in Chaos. It premieres Thursday night, 8 p.m. on Smithsonian Channel with back-to-back hour-long specials. For more, visit smithsonianchannel.com. The Smithsonian Channel, a proud sponsor of the Morning Blend.